The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hi, I'm Thomas Senna, co-host of the SNL Hall of Fame podcast.
And I'm Jeremy Dove, co-host of the Bigger Than the Game podcast.
Jeremy and I have joined forces to create a new podcast called Pop Culture 5 to ask the question, what are the 5 essential things about any given pop culture topic?
It could be 5 essential movies by an actor of our choice.
Or 5 essential songs by a musician of our choice.
We're not making a list of our personal favorites, it's the essentials.
And we better do a good job of justifying our essentials because one of us will have veto power each episode.
And I'm ready to tell Thomas why he's wrong.
All right, Jeremy, all right. Well, actually, why don't we give everyone an out-of-context peek at what we've been up to? So Pharrell was right next to me, and we looked at each other, and we were kind of like bobbing our heads. He wasn't wearing his hat. Nobody really knew he was kind of incognito. But I had to do a double take. I'm like, that's Pharrell. And then he looked at me.
You just slipped that in there, this big name drop here. I was next to my man Pharrell. Like, whoa. I never heard this, everyone.
So join us to celebrate and discuss the essentials of pop culture.
Listen and subscribe to Pop Culture 5 wherever you get your podcast.
Hey, it's time to gather around the water cooler to talk the SNL Hall of Fame. Hey, it's JD here, and welcome back to the SNL Hall of Fame water cooler. I am in the Hall of Fame once again, wandering to the lunchroom where I'll meet my friends Joe and Shari, and we will go over this week's episode of the SNL Hall of Fame, where Kalina Steckel joined us to nominate Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the host category. Well, there they are. Shari, how's it going?
I've got my water bottle right here, JD, filled it up from the water cooler, and I'm glugging it down as always.
Hashtag glug. Joe, my friend, what's going on?
I'm good. This is going to be a good one. This is an interesting pick, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into this, which is an ironic phrasing to use for a water cooler episode, but you get my point.
Yeah. All right. So this week, as I mentioned, we had Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Kalina Steckel nominating her in her conversation with Thomas. Shari, do you want to recap Monday's episode?
Absolutely. It was an excellent one, as always. Kalina and Thomas tackled the very lengthy career of Miss Julia Louis-Dreyfus. They talked pretty extensively, more than they do with a lot of the hosts, about her career. Well, she was a cast member, so they talked quite a bit about her career as a cast member. They then, of course, talked pretty extensively about Seinfeld, and later got back around to Veep. They went through all 3 of her episodes. She didn't come in till 2006, so she was already pretty established. And then 2007 and 2016, and of course, speculation on whether she'll come back or not. I guess we'll just have to see, but it was a really, really interesting discussion. I especially like the discussion about her SNL cast member time, even though that was really what they were there to talk about. But it was interesting to hear, and Kalina talked about how she had a hard time finding sketches and because it was so long ago. So it's very interesting to hear the discussion about Julia's whole career. She's a very interesting actress with a really amazing career.
She really does, right? Like, I mean, there's an alternate universe where she fades away after Seinfeld. Like, that's a hell of a career in itself. 10 seasons of a great TV show and a great character. But instead, New Adventures of Old Christine and Veep. And Veep was like lauded, through the Emmys and through critics. Like everybody loved that show. So I only watched a little bit of it. And I enjoyed it. But yeah, I stopped watching TV a little while ago, it seems. Joe, a question for you. Is there anyone in the Hall of Fame already in the host category that you see a similar path for Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
Yeah, not to get too far ahead, but she reminds me of Adam Driver in the sense that she's having this great run of hosting, and I think I really do hope she comes back. Don't get me wrong, and there is no reason why she shouldn't. Like, if she's not promoting something, she could be in a commercial and promote the commercial. There is no reason for her not to come back because
that's right.
She is just great. And that's what she reminds me of, is someone that is in the middle of having this great run. Even though they're spread out, it's not like Adam Driver where it's one season after another, like her or Mulaney. It's, if you just put her episodes together and realize these are her hosting, yeah, she's having a great run. So to answer the question, yeah, she runs with Adam Driver in the sense that she's in the middle of this great run.
I think that's a great comparison. Yeah. Both are up for grabs this year, and I could see one of the two of them making it on, getting enough votes. But that brings us to our next segment, which is ranking the Hall of Famers that have been nominated this season. So we have got, let me catch my breath here. Beck Bennett versus Shari O'Terry versus Garrett Morris versus Adam Driver versus U2 versus Charles Barkley versus Bob Odenkirk versus Danny DeVito versus Alan Zweibel versus Joe Piscopo versus Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Oh, I don't know why my exhale sounded like Don Pardo.
Don Pardo.
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
I'll take it.
All right.
So, as usual, I will go bottom to top. And as usual, U2 for the same reasons. I mean, it would have to be someone who has little to no effect on the show that got nominated to be below U2. And nothing against them, nothing against the band. Just, like I said every week, they are a great band, but didn't really do anything past that. And then above them, Barkley, like I said, he's a great TV personality, and he's great on the show, but just, it's, acting's not his forte, and Saturday Night Live's an acting, you need to act. Above him is Danny DeVito, who apparently had a great run, and then hasn't come back in 24 years, even though he's on a great show. So It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And it's, again, open door. Like, dude, you can come back. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't. Which leads us to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which is, and again, when I was ranking them, I was trying to figure out where to put her, and then I saw DeVito and Driver, and she was like literally in between the two, where she did these episodes. She's like I said, she's in the middle of the great run. She can come back, but Adam Driver has a character, got along with multi-cast, generational cast, which leads us to Adam Driver. And then, for what I said, Shari O'Terry, she came, did great, moved on, but never came back, so that's why she's where she is. Then Beck Bennett, because he had just great run. Again, yeah, he agrees. Yeah, I know. Exactly.
That is, of course, Fido, the Hall of Fame dog, running around. She got out of her kennel. I don't know how. Her kennel is in the janitor's closet, but she did. So apologies, everyone.
Brings up great points, though. I didn't. Maybe not the last one, but I mean, I get where the dog's coming from. But anyway, then Beck Bennett for having a great run, and then above him, Piscopo for holding down the fort, after Lorne Michaels left, and keeping it going until he left, and then that cast of Martin Short, Billy Crystal showed up. Then Owen Kirk for giving us great characters and great premises and sketches. And then Alan Zweibel for being a great writer during those first 5 years and bringing out the best of those, cast members, especially Gilda Radner. And then above that, Garrett Morris, because I just feel like he's been overshadowed by everyone else, and it's the least he could get is being in the SNL Hall of Fame. So yeah, so basically nothing new. Just putting Julia Louis-Dreyfus between Adam Driver and Danny DeVito. It's almost alphabetical. But no, she just, is literally, for the reasons, in the middle of a great run like Driver, hasn't done anything recent like DeVito, so just kind of like is the gray area between the two. So that's where I put her. All right.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. So this is my list is not too much shaken up, but again, I'm talking about how I see the voting coming together when everybody casts their ballot. And gosh, not very long from now, we're getting really close to the end of our 15 candidates. I can't believe how fast this has gone.
You're right. It really has.
It's crazy. I tell my friends, guys, your friend who didn't know what a podcast was has done like 10 episodes. Crazy, right? So pretty funny. But anyways, I digress. So here is the list of how I see the voting shaking out. Right there with Joe on YouTube. Don't see them moving much from there. Curse of the Musical Guest. Then Alan Zweibel, because us diehards are going to remember him, but the casual fan, I just don't know. Then Charles Barkley, because as Joe says so eloquently, he's a fun host, but he's not an actor. Then Danny DeVito, because he is in the zeitgeist, but he hasn't been around in a long time. Garrett Morris and Shari O'Terry, kind of neck and neck, because, again, people have very short memories, and they were a really long time ago. Piscopo, same thing. The only reason he's a bit above them is he got tied with Eddie, and I think even the kids know about Eddie Murphy and his effect on SNL. And Piscopo was so hand in hand. And I just happened to watch that sketch that Robin Duke was talking about in the hairstyling salon. And what a team Murphy and Piscopo were, and how Robin got to be a part of that, and how it was such a kick for her. She was talking about that. So yeah, Piscopo's right there. Then I see Julia Louis-Dreyfus kind of up here in the top 4. She's very, very popular, and she's never going away. She's super in the zeitgeist all the time, even though she's not on anything right now. Come on. That isn't going to last long. She'll be in a show. Give her 5 minutes. She'll be in something. And I think she's going to be on. I hope she's going to host. But at the very least, they're going to put her in as a cameo somewhere, somehow. I just know it. Then Driver, who is having, as Joe says, a huge, great run. Then Beck Bennett, who's very recent and I think has a big fan base. And at the top, I still got Odenkirk. He may get moved around, but I think he's number one. I think that Matt Foley is just the character. I mean, he was the number one in the character countdown that SNN Saturday Night Network did. And I think he's like everybody's favorite. So many people love Matt Foley, and that's Odenkirk and Farley. So I think that's keeping him at one. And I think maybe he'll even get in. We'll have to see. I'm very interested to see how this is all going to turn out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But let's turn our head to Kalina's final argument and see what you guys think of it, and if you want to rebut it or if you want to underscore it, however you feel about it.
So now's the time in the show, Kalina, where you're talking to voters, fans, our SNL water cooler folks.
Yes.
So why should they consider Julia Louis-Dreyfus as an SNL host who should be held in high regard?
Oh, great question. I feel like we've really touched on it. I just think that she is a performer through and through. I think she's a performer who is not afraid to make fun of herself. She's not afraid to go to the furthest end of the spectrum with the joke or for the joke. I think she's really bold. She's brave. I think she is nowhere near a one-trick pony. I think in her career, she has shown so much versatility, but I think when she hosts, she shows that too. I think she could play the straight man just as well as she can play the zany, weird character. And I think that she really offers something up for everyone in her episodes. And regardless of what your style of humor is or the type of sketches that you prefer from watching SNL, I think you get a little bit of everything with her episodes. And again, there's a reason that she was a cast member for 3 entire years. That's not nothing, especially up against the players she was with. So I don't even think we have to do that much pitching. I really think if you just watch some of her episodes, you'll understand why she's one of the greats.
So Kalina made some really good points with her final plea. But the thing that she seemed to be the most passionate about was how Julia Louis-Dreyfus, or JLD as we all lovingly call her, was a jack of all trades. She could do anything. She could be the total straight woman, like in the why am I losing it? Not Facebook, but MySpace. The MySpace sketch where she plays the silly, innocent mother, and then there's all these pervs in there with her. And, to play against the likes of, Will Forte, Horatio Sands, not my favorite, but still very funny in this sketch. Even Seth Meyers, who remembered he was in sketches. and they're all these pervs, and there's Julia being the total straight arrow. And it was quite clever. And in that charade sketch, same thing. She's this kind of the straight person, but then she can be the total wacky, like in the Oprah sketch they talked about, where she's the total wacky a person talking to Oprah about how The Secret changed her life, but really not that good a way. And, so she could go from just totally wacky to totally serious and everything in between. And she's never gone away from the public eye. She's always right there in the center of everything. So I think Kalina made a really great point, underlining the point that she could just do everything, and that she worked really well with the cast she was with, and just super talented was, I think, the bottom line, and that she really deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just for those 3 great, even though there were only 3 episodes, they were 3 great episodes. And Thomas and Kalina made the point that they got better each time. So that's really something to think about too, is every episode was better than the last.
Joe, how do you feel about that?
Okay. So the 3 notes that I wrote when I was researching. Now, by the way, real fast on the research, I was like, I hope we're not having to research her as a cast member, because it's always hard finding clips of the Piscopo years. And then I found out I had the opposite problem, where I had a hard time finding out clips of her as a host, just between the two.
Wow.
I found out, on YouTube, there's clips of her, as a cast member all up and down, and little to no clips of her as a host. But I, found what I need and remembered the rest and whatnot. So I was back on track. But the three notes I had was great dramatic, acting for great deadpan, as we saw in Chad. I mean, like they did that with Benedict Cumberbatch, and where you just take these great dramatic actors and you put them with in this ridiculous comedic character, and it's the same. It's the SNL formula. It's the you have the deadpan and you have the funny character. Only in this form, it's a pre-tape and it's more dramatic. And you just got Andy Samberg, just doing this. Okay, just this great,
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you. How about this? Just to win back my SNL card, they mentioned, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to call anyone out, but they were like, no. I just, cause they mentioned, they were asking if she was the first female cast member to host, and I believe it's actually Molly Shannon. And then the other thing I want to call out is she said she was from Chicago and watched ER at 10 o'clock. It was on at 9 in the Central Time Zone on WMAQ. And then the news was hosted by Ron Majors. These are all things I memorized, off the top of my head. You asked me state capitals, no. So, anyway, the second note I have is down for whatever. And another great one is you go from, because I literally watched the Chad sketch, and then I watched one where her and Kate McKinnon played two aliens who went to a Match.com event, and I just look at it, going from dramatic to ridiculous, and I'm sure, and even though it's Chad's a pre-tape, I'm sure just knowing it's the same performer that is able to just have this range, and then, also do the charades, and she's doing this with other SNL, either SNL Hall of Fame nominees or people that are in. So she's doing this with Kate McKinnon and Amy Poehler, and she is holding her own, and then she also, is able to make fun of herself. And like her monologues are great. There was one where she was making fun of, like she was doing a thing where she was at the Golden Globes and she was being a bad sport. And then there was another monologue where they mentioned the Seinfeld curse, so she's down to make fun of herself, make herself look ridiculous. The third note I have is she knows her comedy beats. She knows how to perform the bit correctly. She knows how to do, if it's dramatic, do this. If it's make herself look goofy, do that. If like in the MySpace thing, if it's to stay out of the spotlight and let the cast do it, do that.
Right. So
she knows, what position to play and how to play it. So, I was so relieved to hear that she was getting nominated as a host. Nothing against her being a cast member. It was just a different era and, stuff like that. But I just feel like her as a host shows her range, not just dramatic comedic, but also, when to be in the spotlight and when, to be the straight person. So, yeah. And so I agree with what she said, except for ER and Molly Shannon. But other than that, I agree with everything she said in her episode. So,
excellent. Shari, was there anything else you wanted to mention about the closing argument? You didn't really get to rebut it or double down on it or anything, if you wanted to.
No, just what Joe and Kalina and Thomas all said. Julia's just a powerhouse, and I think that people forget because her episodes were a little bit slick. She hasn't been on since 2016. But when I went back and watched like that MySpace sketch, which was way back when, and how she's such a chameleon. She can just play off everybody so well, but then she can take center stage. So yeah, pretty much just repeating what I said is she's just able to mold herself to any situation. And that was the big point that Kalina was making, is that she really can do anything. And that Kalina also said that she definitely thinks she'll be back, and I hope she's right. I hope she and Thomas are right. I'd love to see her this season.
Me too. It would be great. So let's move on to, normally at this point we would talk about the previous Saturday's episode of SNL, and we'd look at our Hall of Fame and Hall of Shame. I think what we're going to do with this week off is we're going to look backwards on the 4 episodes that have aired and pick a Hall of Fame episode and a Hall of Shame episode, if there is one. You know, you can add the caveat as you wish. So, Shari, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start with the Hall of Fame, and it's kind of hard because I really liked all the first 3 a lot. So that's tough. I know that everybody's raving about the Nate Bargatze, and I did like that one a lot. And I liked the Gene Smart way more than almost anybody else I've heard. Everybody else did not like it at all, and I was a huge fan of it, but I think I'm going to give the edge to the Ariana episode. I just think she was a spectacular host. I very rarely see a host who can do as many impressions.
Right.
Like, she could be a cast member in that way. Her impressions, her Celine Dion, your Homeland singing songstress, JD, Miss Dion, of course, famous Canadian. Yeah, she nailed that impression, and then she did several others, and I was just like, this girl is just mind-blowingly talented and super funny too.
Yeah.
Like as Joe talked about her doing the bad singing, like that's hard to do when you can sing like her and then you have to sound bad. I was just really, really impressed with her work on the episode, and I was impressed in the writing. I think that the writers were very tired from the first 3 episodes, which will bring me to my Hall of Shame, but I won't get into that yet. But they really, they just nailed the writing those first 3 episodes, and I feel like number 3 was really My Best Friend's House was so clever, and there was just a lot of really, really strong writing. So yep, that's the Hall of Fame for me. I'm going to go with episode number 3, with the fabulous Stevie Nicks' great musical performance, and with the fabulous Ariana Grande. She just really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. That would be my Hall of Fame pick too. Joe, what is your Hall of Fame pick?
Well, I'm gonna kind of go the opposite, which is with Shari, but go agree with everyone else, which is Nate Forgan's Nate. I'm doing the Porky Pig. I'm a little tongue tied right now, but anyway, it's because of Washington. If it's like, it's a crowd favorite, and not to be too off topic, but I'm always a big fan of making fun of the English language. So with that Washington sketch, and there's 2 comedians that really I have, because making fun of the English language is a special spot in my heart. And there's 2 comedians that did that really well, and it's a wide range, and it's a popular comedian and a infamous comedian, and I'll let you figure out which one's which, and that's George Carlin and Gallagher, and they each had, and have a routine about the English language, and doing it with Washington, kind of, doing a sketch about, the source of all this insanity that is the English language, and they have a recurring sketch about it. And on top of that, to have the general public like something that is so cleverly written, that is talented. That takes talent. So I'm not sure if it's Nate that is going to be in the Hall of Fame or the writer of that sketch. One, the other, both, but that, and then on top of that, I love that golf sketch. That golf sketch is going to be in my brain for a while. I don't know how long, but so you have a live sketch, you have a pre-tape sketch. So out of the one list that we have so far, that's the one I'm choosing for pro.
Let's stick with you then and hear what your Hall of Shame episode might be.
So, again, I'm going against, what Shari said, and I'm going to go with Gene Smart. And now, first off, Ariana Grande. I almost picked that as a pro, but it was too musical. which is fine. But it just, and I mean, Ariana Grande is the host, so obviously that's what you're going to do. You're going to have her sing and have her do singing impressions. But, if you're not into singing, you're SOL. If you want to see something different, like they had the one that was game night. I think that was the only sketch that wasn't musical. But I almost picked that. So I, just to let you know, I agree with you in some points, but for shame, I put Gene Smart because I don't remember anything. I was excited because it was the season premiere of the 50th season, but after that, and then I remembered they missed the boat on that Real Housewives sketch where I thought, okay, this is gonna be good. This is perfect for her. And then they had it be about something else, and I'm like, oh. And then I looked also on the list, and there was also Michael Keaton, but that one was just a bland, average episode. I had nothing positive or negative to say about it either way. So yeah, Gene Smart because I felt like it was bland, but also they made it. They missed the boat with the Real Housewives one, so it kind of has a negative, to it, stigma in my brain at least. So anyway, that's the one I'm picking.
All right. Let's move over to Shari and hear what her Hall of Shame is.
Yeah, nobody liked the Gene Smart one except me for whatever reason. I really liked it, and like everybody on the SNN on the Hot Take show did not like it. I listened to another podcast. We have had Darren on the Hall of Fame. He does one called the SNL Nerds. They hated it, both he and John. I'm like, I don't know. I really, really liked it. And the one I didn't like, it seems like everybody just, what Joe said, thought was meh. And I thought it was less than meh. I really did not like the Michael Keaton episode. I was on such a high from the first three. And that one just was so poorly written. I had a hard time finding one good sketch to talk about. That's why I feel like they spent so much love and energy in the first three episodes, certainly the 2 and 3 for sure, that by the time they got to 4, they were just kind of exhausted. And they don't usually, and they've talked about the fact that they don't usually do 4 episodes in a row like this, so that was a lot for them. And maybe they were just overspent because they had a great host in Michael Keaton. He can do anything. And I feel like he was really wasted. They didn't give him a lot to do. Just very disappointing episode for me. Definitely Hall of Shame for me.
Okay. Wow. Well, mine would be the Gene Smart one too. I'm so sorry, Shari. There's just it, and maybe was that not the one where right off the bat there was the sound issue and they played part of Dress, or which episode was that?
I want to say that was
the Ariana.
Ariana, yeah.
Oh,
and they did the
right,
the detective one.
Right. Okay, yeah. Well, next week on the podcast, we are welcoming back for the second time this season, guys. Ryan McNeil is here, so it's a musical episode, and he is going to be discussing. That's what I get for not looking at my notes. Next week, SNL is also back, and it is hosted by Mr. John Mulaney, who is the first to ever appear on the ballot in 2 separate categories, host and writer. Now, he's since fallen off the ballot in the host category, the host category, sorry. But he is back for another season in the writer category. What do you think he can do in this episode to further cement? I mean, he should have went in as a host, I think. But to further cement his ascendance to the Hall of Fame. Joe?
Okay, if he continues that tradition of the musical sketch that he did with Restaurant, Lobster, and Bodega, Sushi, because, all right, here's one thing to mention right off the bat. It's the first time in a long time that we've had a host. It's the first time in a long time that we've had a host that hosted 6 times. We've had it lots of times with Goodman and Baldwin and Martin and other tins. But he's the one to break the mold with Mulaney. And also, I also love, this is what I love about Mulaney. He's able to come up with material off the bat. You could have a new special every year, I think. And then also, he's able to have this whole routine of talking like this as one does. As a person who sounds like an advertising agent. But no, if he's able to continue that tradition of the musical sketch that he does with, what is it, like, Airport Sushi, I think it was.
Right.
If he's able to do, that to me is his recurring sketch that he's able, and it's weird that a host is able to bring their sketch to a multi-generational cast and have the cast adapt to the host, and and it's rare. Like usually, like I'm sure, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but for the host to say, look at the cast and tell them to adapt to his sketch as opposed to all the way around. Like, we've been doing this sketch for 5 years, host, and you gotta. So yeah, like if he's able to bring that John Mulaney magic that he did the last 5 episodes, and do stand up in the monologue, if he's able to just do what he does, that would be great. And that's all that he needs to do, is just be, Mulaney, like do his John Mulaney hosting stick that he does every episode. If he does that, it's fine.
Shari?
I think this is his to lose, man. He is very similar to Conan O'Brien, who I was very surprised got in as a writer because he was not on that long. Mulaney was on longer, I believe. And I feel like if Conan's going to be in there as a writer, Mulaney should be in there as a writer.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't
agree.
Why am I always the grouch? What is up with that? I don't like
No,
I don't like him as a host that much. And I didn't really get him as a stand-up. My husband loves him, and I like him more now, but he's not my favorite. But people adore him. And what is wrong with me? I don't think he's a great host. I think he's a fine host, but his writing, Diner Lobster, Airport Sushi, those are fantastic. And frickin' Stefan, one of my favorite characters, who I have a t-shirt about.
Absolutely.
So I think that alone, I think he's going to get in this year.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I think he is.
Doubling down on your Stefan reference, I wonder, they've been sort of bringing back people this season so far. I wonder if Hader makes an appearance and we get a Stefan at the update desk.
I hope so.
That would be a lot of fun.
I would love to see Stefan's husband on too, Seth and Bill and Mulaney.
Oh, right.
That'd be so cool.
He works right down the street.
It's true. Down the elevator.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a good cameo. Oh, I mean, I know it's a cheap gimmick, but it gets me 10 out of 10.
Me too. Well, folks, that's what we got for you this week. I want to thank Joe and Shari for taking some time out of their lunch and hanging around the water cooler with me. It was great as always. From the two of them, this is JD saying see you next week. Stay thirsty.
Thanks for listening to the SNL Hall of Fame Water Cooler. To connect with Joe and Shari, join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/SNLHOF. To email the cast, write to snlhofwc@gmail.com. Please subscribe, share, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. Podcasts and such.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line, that's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.